Hi, I'm Kimberly Greenwood, and one of my favorite parts from the introduction class was how we were able to make our own definition of happiness. And I also loved looking at the life pursuits chart, where you can understand that what brings you joy and what you're good at is the golden ticket. In the positive psychology class, I loved Seligman's definition of a good life, which is use your signature strengths daily to produce authentic happiness and abundant gratification. I loved doing that signature strengths test. In flourishing, one of my favorite parts was watching the video What Matters Most. My favorite line was, "Moments are the molecules that make up eternity." And I just love that whole perspective. In achieving authentic happiness, I loved the focus that we had on gratitude. We focus on it a lot in church and stuff like that, but it was cool to see that it's scientifically proven that it's one of the best ways to be happy, is through having gratitude. In the How of Happiness class number 5, we talked about Sanja Luo-Burmiski's concept of savoring, which includes like sharing with others, memory building, and stuff like that. And I loved how that helps us to really immerse ourselves in meaningful activities every day. In class 6, PERMA, Positivity and Love 2.0. This was one of my favorite class periods because we talked about Barbara Fredrickson's definition of love, that it's a micro moment of warmth and connection, and it's not just a romantic thing. In class 7, PERMA, Flow. I loved that flow means to be in a state of mind or to have an experience where you're completely engaged in something, and you do it for no other reason except that you absolutely love doing it. In class 8, PERMA, Meaning and Achievement, I liked learning about the differences between hedonia and eudaimonia. The first being a pleasure principle, and the second being human flourishing. In class 9, The Happiest Place, I love the concept of hygge. I actually did my research paper on that. I loved it, and I loved learning about how Denmark is the happiest country because they take the time to slow down and to really enjoy living life, which is really interesting. In class 10, Why We Do What We Do, my favorite part of this class was when we talked about extrinsic versus intrinsic motivation, and how I loved pondering about how God acts with us, and because I really want to parent my children the same way that God parents us. Class 11, Self-Determination Theory. In order to have self-determination, we need autonomy, which is like self-governing, competence, your capacity, and relatedness. So doing all those things with people that you feel loved and cared for by. In class 12, the time famine. I didn't really realize how much of a time famine we're in America, and especially how it's changed just in the past couple of years. So that was really cool to see. In 13, Take Back Your Time. I like how we've talked about how we can actually change our pace by like personal inventory, Sabbath day worship, support groups, early rising, scriptures, and stuff like that. I like how we talked about the how we can actually apply that. Building a good life in the digital age. Technology is really important. It was cool that we put away all of our distractions that day, and how we compared the good and the bad that comes with technology. Class 15, Intentional Families. I liked the difference between like intentional families, psychological, pluralistic, entropic families. It made me think about what I want in the future for a family and how to have strong bonds. Class 16 was also really fun, family rituals, because I could talk about the different rituals that my family has, which we have a lot. So that was really cool to talk to other people about the fun things that they do with their family as well. Class 17, Last Child in the Woods. I hadn't realized that with Hoffer's study, for over 25 years, it showed that children's free time had declined by 9 hours, which is a lot, and how important it is to be outside in nature. The experience economy and experience staging was definitely like a switch over, which was really cool. My brother's in marketing, so I like talking about like ing the thing and how the action is really significant in making it stick in our memory. Class 19, Fostering Empathy. I loved the Chinese handcuffs. My biggest takeaway was that to be in a relationship, you have to come closer and loosen up to get out of like a stuck feeling that you may have and look outward instead of inward. Class 20, Design Thinking. Designing your life is really interesting because there's like so much to think about, but I love how they talked about our desire, the viability and feasibility, which leads us to have creative confidence in whatever we're doing. Designing your life intro. This whole section was really impactful to me because we talked about reframing some of the dysfunctional beliefs that maybe we have, which I definitely do. So it's cool to think about how the meaning of our life can change as our perspective changes as well. Designing your life, wayfinding, and odyssey plans. Wayfinding is the ancient art of figuring out where you're going when you don't have a destination. So I liked mind mapping because it helped you kind of find a place to start and then start to build off of that and piece together your life like a puzzle. Designing your life, prototyping was really cool because we talked about adding to ideas instead of contradicting them. Instead of saying like, but this could be better, we say, and we could add on it in this way, which was really cool. And lastly, designing your life, choosing happiness. I loved it because they made it seem so simple and easy, how we can just choose a process, narrow down the list, choose discerningly, let go, and move on. I really love this class. Thanks.